Oh, delicious people. It is an amazing day. I have interviewed both Kara and Caleb separately for a while, but I've never had the blessing of being able to interview them together. And so, do it again. Stand up. Let's see the belly. Stand up.
There it is.
Your glory, girl.
There
You got to see this.
So round. It's just like a round balloon.
I have one too. It's just a little.
You want Caleb to stand up?
Sure, Caleb, stand up too. Let's see yours.
Oh,
it's so good. So we literally have 7 weeks to go before this little one arrives. So I'm going to just take a moment, read each of these extraordinary humans' bios to you, so you know who they are, and go back into other podcasts or IG Lives so you can learn more about them as well. And I'm going to give you their websites so you can stay in contact with them, podcasts, programs, etc. And then we're going to really feel into what is it like, what is it like for especially Kara, giving birth. So Kara is a dating and empowerment coach based in Nashville, and she empowers women to come back home to their bodies and get clear on what they want so they can create a space to invite in healthy relationships like this handsome man to her side here. And as a former celebrity chef, she's a big believer that food is a modality to help us connect with our bodies. And when we connect with our bodies, we unlock our lives. And she works with women who are frustrated with feeling alone and insecure and disconnected and are seeking community of like-minded women to gain clarity on their relationships with themselves, their bodies, and others. And by creating safe spaces and helping women reframe their sense of self, she's helped hundreds of women feel connected and at home in their bodies and their lives. And she works with clients all over the world to remind women what it truly means to live a nourishing life. Let us bow, Caleb, to the goddess.
I know. I guess I love you.
Awesome. And then we have Caleb, who grew up on a farm in Texas where he walked a pig. Yes, a pig. And he also played football, and he was kind of good at it. And football landed him at West Point, where he would start all 4 years and make national news and become the second player in the history of West Point to get drafted into the NFL. And he had to wait 2.5 years before he could actually play because of a policy reversal. But that's a longer version of a story that we will see later. But it was in the NFL, in his childhood dream, the very thing he'd been chasing his entire life, that he began to self-destruct. And despite being the biggest, fastest, strongest he'd ever been, all the pain he'd ignored and masked as ambition was coming to the surface, and he could no longer hide behind the facade of years of perfectionism. And like a bomb, the NFL applied just enough pressure on his beautiful heart that it left his heart in fragments. And knowing that something needed to change, he somehow found the courage to make a soulful shift that would forever change his life. And through a series of unexpected events, he found himself packing his bags and moving to Canada. I'm a Canadian, where he would go on and become a glorified janitor of a church so that he could begin to heal emotional trauma that was keeping him stuck in a miserable life. And he seriously slept on the basement floor of the boiler room, worked for a church, created the physical and emotional space that he needed to begin to heal. And of course, he's never been the same. And in our interview, how all the events happened where he met Kara and they live happily ever after in Nashville and are soon proud parents to be in 7 friggin' weeks. So we shall now bow to Caleb.
We bow to Caleb.
Yes, man. So thank you for taking time at one of the most busy times of the year and busy times in your life for us to be together to give to humanity the inspiration that each of you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. We've both individually loved our conversations with you. And we were like, oh, this is going to be fun together with Allana. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And I love that the sunshine is making you forward to be, no, it's just because we want to be intimate. It's all good. It's all good. Caleb, what is the most magical thing about Kara right now, seeing her in her goddess pregnant glory?
I think it's been beautiful to watch her hold this liminal space, this in-between season so consciously and so aware. There is no new life without experiencing deaths, right? It's the prerequisite to new lives. And I feel like watching her hold that space with so much awareness, so much compassion, and also with intention. It's encouraging to me, it's inspiring to me, and it's also just reminds me how fucking lucky I got, knowing that she's my partner and she's the one that's going to be mothering this child. And so I think that would probably be the first thing that stands out the most to me.
How beautiful. Thank you. And before I ask you about what it's been like to have Caleb's support during this time, just speaking of your own glory, like just before we got on camera, I'm like, oh, stop. We need to share this.
Yes.
It's almost like you're in permanent orgasmic bliss right now. Like, tell us,
Yes.
what is it like to be you?
Yes. You know, my pregnancy has been relatively smooth. I've been blessed to not have a lot of complications, and I didn't have like morning sickness, and I've felt really connected to my body during the whole process. But something turned a corner for third trimester, and Caleb referenced this, but I think in second trimester I was letting some stuff die. There was some stuff that needed to die, some sense of self that needed to die, some identities. You know, I've been a self-supporting, financially independent person since I was 16, and my identity around producing and being productive like was so intertwined. And so second trimester for me was a lot of unraveling of that and kind of giving myself the permission to look at, to imagine the possibility that rest could be the best thing, or that not doing could be the best thing. And anyone who has gone through a pregnancy knows that your body is doing so much work. It just externally doesn't get validated as productivity. So second trimester was a big release, surrender time for me. And I think because of that, coming into third trimester, I have felt this like emotional, spiritual bliss land that happens when we do surrender, right? Like when we finally lay something down, when we finally let it be, we get to experience that bliss. And I've compared it to going on like a mushroom journey. I just feel connected to everything. Everything feels divine. I'm aware of my womb. I'm talking to her all the time about birth and how we're going to make her entrance into the world. And so I feel like I'm in my like feminine essence, just really soaking it in and like living in the glory that is feminine. But I do think it came after doing the work of releasing and letting go.
Yeah. Well, that would make complete sense. You're birthing you as you're birthing a baby. The new.
Absolutely.
Wow. And what does it feel like?
Sorry. Go ahead. I was just saying, it's just like a beautiful, like, as you hold a baby, you also have to do the trust and the work of really learning that your life is also being held. Right, so like you're holding this new life, and it's this beautiful invitation for you to deepen your trust that there is something outside of your ability to hold it all together, your ability to make everything happen. There's something outside of you, and that's what we would call grace or source or God or oneness, whatever, that is holding all of this together in this season of in between.
Beautifully said. I remember when I gave birth, and it was like this blissful moment, and his eyes were looking in my eyes, and it was like, oh my God, you're real, it's a miracle. And it lasted about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it was like, fuck, how do I keep him alive?
What do we do? Are we ready for this? Caleb and we will both be 37 when she's born, and I keep being like, are we old enough to have kids? Am I old enough? I don't know if I'm old enough yet.
We were in Nordstrom's today and like testing out strollers, and I swear to God, I hit fucking every corner turning a stroller. Like, God damn it.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true.
It's going to be so many transitions, so many. But I do feel a lot of gratitude to be able to. I mean, you know this, Allana, but Caleb and I have both done so much individual internal work that I feel grateful going through this process with some tools to know like, oh, my body is shifting and my brain is shifting and my hormones are shifting, and we're going to shift as a couple. We're going to evolve. And so, just feeling a lot of gratitude about all of it.
Oh, so good. So good. So as you've been dying to old identities, surrendering and coming into your blissful mushroom, make love with life every minute. What have you noticed because I really believe the feminine awakens masculine grandeur. I really do. When we are in our happy place, our most connected place in the feminine, I really think we can awaken something that no one else could in your partner. So what have you seen awaken in Caleb with your transformation?
Yeah, it's funny. I love the way you framed that, and I'm thinking about, for him, it's just, I'm like feeling the gratitude as I say this. I think we moved to Nashville in February.
Yep.
And that was a huge transition for us. And then 3 months later, got pregnant. And I feel like watching Caleb, and I think this started to happen before baby and before I was like embodying this new feminine energy. But I have watched Caleb step fully like towards the line of who he is.
Yeah.
And because of that, his work is flourishing, his message is flourishing. I feel like you've stepped into a new confidence of owning his message and his voice in the world. Where I all along have been like, you're the most spectacular human in the world and you have a lot to say. And I feel like he's moved up to that line to be like, yes, I am. And I'm going to meet that. And I think too, I mean, on a practical note, I've looked at next year and said, I don't know if I want to work very much. Like I might want to just lay in bed with this baby. Can we imagine that possibility that for a couple months I don't work? And for me, I came into that conversation with a lot of guilt and a lot of just like, I've always contributed. And I never got married with the intention of someone taking care of me. That wasn't my intention. But to see him respond so gently with this, of course I will take care. Of course I will own this part of our lives, has been so beautiful to me. And I think it really has, I don't know if it's my feminine energy or if it's a baby, but I feel like it's allowed him to step into purpose and identity in a way that I haven't seen him do before. Like ownership of life. Like I'm just going to own what I can do.
Friggin' sexy. That's awesome.
It is so sexy.
Totally sexy to the feminine, but in the process, Caleb, I'm sure it didn't feel maybe it did. How was it for you to die to an identity and step in and own a greater identity? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think like I was just kind of, as you're speaking, I've been thinking about this whole process and having a baby. We are bringing a life into this world clearly, but like we had to do so much work. It up-leveled our life in every way, energetically speaking. Like we couldn't continue to operate at the level of awareness in which we were operating and still bring this baby into this world.
Thank you.
I honestly don't think it would have worked.
Yeah.
I really don't. There was too much chaos. There wasn't the space to invite this new life in. And this is our experience and, you know, the way that we kind of see things. And so I feel like it has been a call forward, right? It has been like a call forward to lean into this next season of life, which is inevitably a season of expansion. And like I said earlier, it's a season of also letting go of the ways that we play small, letting go of the way that we see the world that's no longer serving us, letting go of whatever it might be that's keeping us kind of rooted in the place that we are, despite the place that we are might be so frustrating. It's familiar. Right. And I do like, there has been a lot of tension in my life, personally speaking, with really stepping into my life. Like, and I feel like since moving to Nashville, stepping fully into my life, like owning myself, owning my life, owning my message, like I'm here in my life and it's good. I have something to say, and not letting the million other voices really kind of, as a 4 on the Enneagram, right? Like it's never significant enough. It's never meaningful enough. It's never good enough. So I've really had to do the work of grounding myself and really learning how to tune into what's my heart speaking and trusting that process. I had a thought, but I think that mostly like this whole experience, I'm just kind of reflecting on it, it up-leveled our lives in every way. This new life, it's a daughter coming into the world, but what it represents, it's truly representing something so much greater. And as with her, it's good enough, but there's the rewards keep coming. We're not just getting her, which is amazing. We're getting to see parts of ourselves we haven't seen yet. We're experiencing life in a way we've never experienced life. It just makes me in awe of just honoring the great mystery that is holding all of this together and giving us the permission and allowing us to participate in all of this. It's just beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful too, because I feel like I was saying this yesterday, it's represented in the physical body. Like
it is.
My body is literally getting bigger. My body is expanding. I'm taking up more space. I was getting on an airplane the other day and I was like, oh, like wiggling into a seat and being like, this is forcing me to take up more space. This life is forcing me to take up more space. And it's really beautiful that that's energetically happening for both of us, that it's happening in our life, but also physically represented in the body. I just think it's profound.
It is profound. And I love how you guys see things so multidimensionally. You're just delicious. Like I'm hearing your words and I'm sensing your energy and I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. What would you say to people who might not choose a child to be the catalyst for this transformation that you're going through, right? You were saying, yes, you're bringing in this beautiful daughter, and yet it's so much more.
Yeah.
How would you proactively guide people? And you do this in both of your jobs, I know, and your podcast and all the things that we're going to share with people to connect with you. But it's like the new masculine, the new feminine. It's like the new humanity. It's like conscious relationship. It's like you guys are doing more than just having a baby. Like you're up-leveling of your spirit. I can feel it. Like I already loved you before. Like I'm like, how is it that I love you now more? Because there's more of you. There's more in and around. Like I'm like, whoa. I'm sensing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question.
To expand.
I think life is always providing us opportunities to expand.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a matter of one, recognizing the invitation because it's not packaged in the way that we necessarily see it packaged.
It's generally packaged in a way that might feel uncomfortable.
It's generally like we've all been given, and I'm not trying to make light of the experience that we've had individually and collectively over the past year with COVID and the loss of loved ones and the loss of dreams and the loss of relationships, with just a great loss. But at the end of the day, the invitations to expand usually masquerade as loss, right? It comes as massive disruptions that completely shake up your life. Like the ground that once was so sturdy and so stable is now suddenly so shaky, right? And now that is the invitation that we have to expand. And we have to understand, because I think in the Western world, performance-driven, do more, be more, achieve more mentality that we live with here, expansion doesn't necessarily mean that it's this upward trajectory to a bigger and better life. That's good and it's great, but first expansion, it's a downward descent into the deep turbulent waters of like our own soul. Like it's a downward descent into the depths of what makes us us, not what the world sees, but what really truly makes us us and how we show up in the world. Like that's the invitation to expand. And as we do the work of clearing that space internally, whether it's belief systems or whether, you know, whatever it might be, like trauma, whatever it might be, like when we do this work of this downward descent, inevitably, our life is going to flourish. Our life is going to look differently. We miss it when we think that this spiritual journey or this road to expansion is on par with the westernized way that we do life, right? And it's not that you don't get the big glamorous life that you might deep down want. It's suddenly that you just realize that I'm okay if I don't have it. I'm okay if nothing ever changes. I'm okay if my life from this moment forward never changes, because I've done the deep work of connecting here and I'm present in my life. I'm engaged I'm living my life. Like that's freedom. That's really freedom. And so a long-winded answer to your question of if you don't want to bring a baby into this world and experience expansion in that way, you still got opportunities.
You got a lot.
Yeah. Kara, you are, when you're saying, or Caleb, when you're saying like expansion, this downward descent, I'm like, yeah, down in the womb of
Yeah,
like you're literally creating in the dark. And that's
it is.
physical, but it's also symbolic. And when we expand, we don't from in all directions, deeper roots, higher roots. So thank you for getting us off the linear, oh, it's got to look bigger, better, supersize that, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, when you expand, just from the beginning of the conversation, a death to have a new birth, it's going to be messy, uncertain, shaky, and that's not bad or wrong. You know, sink in, open wide, you know, suck the marrow out of this. You're clearly doing it. Kara, what are your thoughts on this downward descent?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Caleb articulated that so well as he was speaking. I was thinking about, I'm doing so much hypnobirthing prep and doing all these meditations around birth.
That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, and just really mentally attempting and physically attempting to prepare my body and my mind for this life to enter through me. And one of the most helpful things that someone broke down for me was that when the pain comes, the goal is to scream yes. Like, yes, I welcome the pain. Because what it is, it's pressure in the body that is pushing forward new life. Most often when we experience pain, our response is we clamp up, we tighten, we shut down, we want to run away.
Yep.
And if we think about even this expansion as a downward push of entering into new life, there is this necessity of saying yes, of screaming yes to the uncomfortability, of yes, I welcome this because I know on the other side there's new life. I know that this pressure is so intentional. So I feel like it's such a beautiful, as we relate the body to life, it's such a beautiful analogy to life, because for me, for so many years of my life, I ran away from pain. I ran away from—
You're the only one.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I'm the only one who ever did it.
Not at all.
And when we avoid or push away pain, when we judge our emotions, they come back stronger.
Yeah.
When we allow and when we say yes to, they know how to move themselves through.
Yeah.
And so there is this really beautiful body analogy with expansion, where if we can just learn in the discomfort, and that's, you know, we all do that kind of work in our coaching. We help clients reframe so we can help them say yes to the discomfort and move through what normally we would want to like shut off or run away from.
God, that's so beautiful. And especially during this time of year, like the end of the year, the beginning of the year, people can often have the point of view of, well, I didn't make the money, I'm still single, or you know, all the myriad of reasons. And yet to see the beauty in pain, the gift in pain, the lean into the pain, to scream yes to the pain. And that all that pleasure, too much pleasure, you're going to forget to, you put the kid on the roof before you got in the car and the kid's still on the roof, you're going to, too much pleasure and you're going to forget shit. So too much pleasure is not actually a necessarily healthy or balanced either. So what I wanted to just share for a moment, and then I want to encourage people to play with you and honor your time and your podcast and all the rest of it. When I gave birth and I did the hypnobirthing, when they call it a surge, not a contraction in your
surge or pressure.
Yep. And so I would go, I would like, I didn't quite scream yes, but I would moan and moan and moan and moan. And I was literally eating an In-N-Out burger the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, he transitioned eating an In-N-Out burger. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. No, 7 minutes, 5 pushes, no drugs, no ripping. And I believe it's because I kept all my energy. I didn't resist it. And I moaned and I did my thing. And then I also followed my body. My body said, no, I don't want to lie on my back. I want to lie on my side. And they're like, I'm like, no, you're having to do it.
Good for you.
Turns out he had the cord around his neck. And that was the best way for him to breathe, was for me to trust my body to be on my side. So
wow.
Beautiful.
Like, as we go through these discomfort and pain, there's a knowing, there's an alignment, there's a truth. But if we judge or resist, we cut off our knowing and we cut off our truth. So to me, that's a symbolic lesson of birth, but that's life right there. So I'm thrilled you're doing hypnobirthing.
Yeah, I love that you share that. I love that you share that too, because I think what you're really noting, that's so important, that we we don't often do is this idea of listening to our bodies.
Yeah.
And that is the prerequisite for emotional work and mental work, is to honor what's physically going on, right? To honor what's actually happening in the physical body. So I love that you leaned into that and that you trusted your body, because it was telling you the truth.
Also, like, beautiful work of trusting your knowing. Like, there's a journey into learning how to trust your knowing, because regardless of what your life, how you were raised or your life experience, life has created enough experiences for you probably not to trust yourself. Right? You made mistakes, you've done things, you trusted people, right? And you were hurt, you were betrayed, you were whatever the story is. And through these experiences, subconsciously, we learn that maybe like we shouldn't trust ourselves, right? We disconnect from our knowing and we play the logical game, right? I should do X, Y, and Z because my parents say do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. So we have all of these, this myriad of ways we've disconnected from our knowing. And so there is because I think we can hear people, and it's true, it's so true. It's like, connect to your knowing. It's going to guide you into a deeper, more fulfilled and expansive life. Definitely in a way you never expected to go. The dark night of the soul is definitely, it's on the journey, it's on the way. But the way that we have to learn how to, I'm saying that there's a process of reconnecting to the knowing. And for me, as I heard you say this, I'm like, yes. And in case anybody is listening, like, what does it mean to reconnect to the knowing? It looks like living an emotionally honest life.
Beautiful.
Like, you can't reconnect to your knowing when you're not living emotionally honest, because when you're not living emotionally honest, you're not honoring or being honest with what's coming on in your life. You're actually ignoring and betraying. So what you're actually doing is you're living a life of self-betrayal. You can't expect to tap into the inner knowing when your life is about self-betrayal. And that looks like, betraying myself when not honoring my boundaries. Right? Allowing that person in this toxic relationship to gaslight me or to talk me into not trusting what I want to believe, or talking me out of my boundaries. And I get it. And I know there's so many layers there, but when you say no, stick to it, right? Whenever you have an opportunity to choose yourself, honor yourself, and stick to it, you're literally teaching yourself how to move away from self-betrayal. And then from that place, as you deepen your connection with yourself, you're going to start hearing and feeling this knowing. And then you attach to it. And then the journey is honoring the knowing. And the thing about the knowing is, for the most sense, as you have just beautifully shared in your story, it's not the most logical thing. Logic says, based on studies and research and data, says this isn't good, right? Like, when I've never followed my knowing, and then, which I'm thankful for these people, but the most type A rational people in my life are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no, that's career suicide. And I'm just like, well, okay, maybe it is, but I know that I got to follow this through, because I know if I disregard this knowing and then I try to play this, my cards and living this logical life, I'm going to hate myself and everyone in my life. And I'd rather take this risk of following my knowing, kind of deal. Laura, again, I got lots of words today. I've been working on a new keynote, so I've got tons of words.
Awesome. What do you think is going to be the most beneficial tool that you've learned thus far as you have sleepless nights? You're like, I don't know how to make it stop. Like, make her stop. Like, what are we, it's going to be stressful. Be a really important tool that's going to keep you connected to you, your knowing, and each other.
Caleb poured the fake wine. The wine, for sure. I cannot wait to have a goblet of wine. I keep saying I just want a goblet of it, the really cold wine. I think for me, one of the big tools that feels like it will help or be a huge asset in this season is getting my body really still for a moment. How are we doing? Almost just this practice of getting present. Because I think for me, when I can do that, when I can remind myself I'm here, I'm okay, I'm alive, my mind can kind of slow down. And that's where the danger is for me, if my mind is on overdrive and taking me to 10 months out, being like, is this going to be like this forever? if it's just like this in this moment, I'm generally okay. But it's the story that I create about, oh my gosh, I'm going to never sleep again. And Caleb's going to be gone all the time speaking, you know, whatever the story is that my mind would want to create that gets dangerous. So really for me, just coming back into my body, doing these, I literally just place my hand on my heart and my hand on my belly. And I'm like, how are we? How are we doing? Are we here? Are we alive? Are we okay? Is a tool I use now, and I imagine in the chaos of sleepless nights and a baby sucking all the life out of my boobs, I'm gonna need that.
I love it. I love it. Caleb, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I a while back ago, a few months ago, I was sitting with Kara and I looked at her and I said, like, babe, like there's this massive shift in my life. And I looked at her and I said, honey, like, I don't feel like I'm just trying to survive in life anymore. Like, I feel like I'm living my life. Like, I'm out of this survival mode and I'm more present. I'm more engaged. I'm in my life. And that's been my ultimate journey. But when I said that, I was processing it. And I've been looking at the last 10 years of my life since I've started this journey over a decade ago of just doing work. And I realized that while I was doing a lot of different healing modalities, and while I was learning a lot of different things, what was truly happening at the very base layer of my heart, what was actually happening was I was learning, not aware at the time, but I was learning of really how to regulate a very dysregulated nervous system, a very fucking dysregulated nervous system. Like, holy shit, because it's in the regulation of the nervous system we feel safe in our life, we can be present in our life, we can be in our lives, right? It's when we're in survival, which is directly correlated to the dysregulation of the nervous system. And so I say that because as I have made sense of where I'm at, and like what has transpired to get here, I've started to like do the work of better understanding what's happening. And the polyvagal theory is, all about the autonomic nervous system. And it makes sense now. Like, I can look at my life through the lens of my autonomic nervous system, and I'm like, shit, this makes total sense. So I say that I don't think there's any coincidence that I've been learning this and then also about to have a baby, because I know that dysregulation is going to fucking happen and it's going to happen frequently. But I've been really learning the tools of really learning how to just simply recenter myself in the midst of dysregulation, right? And the goal isn't to stay in that constant state of regulation because it's just impossible. But I also see this as like, oh my God, we're going to a fucking training ground right now where I'm going to start learning emotional flexibility to even a greater degree, right? I'm going to be able to like start stretching and flexing my nervous system to take on even more that's coming, because I know I'm going to have to hold this space, because I'm believing in myself so much right now. I know I need this space to hold and to sustain me with where I'm going, because this is what's happening right now. Like, God, this universe is so good. They're going to give us ample opportunities to like create this space so that we can consciously hold this next level of expansion in our lives. Because if we don't have that space, it's going to crash. It's going to, inevitably, it fractures us, and it fractures our lives and everything in our lives. And so I say that because just that simple framework of just recognizing the dysregulation, recentering in that moment, recognizing, recentering, communicating, right? So recognizing and recentering is it's what's gotten me here, and it's still what I'm going to carry through this next season.
Still so beautiful. Building on that, I have been calling this new thing that I'm developing a partnering app, Heartmates. And to me, it's like we're 1 and 1 equals infinity, rather than the old model of soulmate. I'm broken, you're broken, you complete me. I need you. But there's also a need, I don't know if need's the right word, so I'm going to ask you, but in this wholemate or heartmate world that you're in, where you're whole, but you're actually more together. It's almost like you need their catalyst, you need their guidance, you need their shoulder, but you're not needy like from emptiness, but there is a willingness to say, hey, I'd like to maybe not work next year. I need you to provide. So it's an upgrade of that way of being. Share what's possible and what's unfolding in that, and you, to the degree you want to use the word need, each other. And then you're more together than you could be on your own.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, like, in this journey, I'm not always the most graceful, right? It's taken me a lot of years, and I still, like, I can, like, when I feel the tension, it might take me a day or two before I stop kicking and screaming. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I know what to do here, right? But I'm telling you, like, I've needed Kara, in the way, not what she does for me necessarily or help me, but just the way that she shows up and holds space for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel like in my experience of being with her, is such a, like, a rich and powerful dynamic of a relationship. And it blesses me and it empowers me because she knows when I'm in the middle of something, or I'm feeling the tension of something and I'm really leaning into it. She knows how to handle me there, and she's known from the beginning intuitively how to hold space and mirror back to me, or just to be there for me. She does this in such a beautiful way that it's given me so much opportunity to grow exponentially and infinitely faster. Not that it's like faster, but just to really grow in an exponential way. And the beautiful part about that is, for us together, I come out on the other side and my, I didn't know I could love you more. Right? I didn't know I could love you more. And then it's just like, it's just reciprocated. So it just like how she shows up for me, and I'm just using this as an example, how she shows up for me, it pours out into our lives in every other way, which allows us to, like, run faster, run harder, run longer, but doing it in a healthy way. Yeah. It's just a completely different life experience.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, I love that. It's like making me emotional. Like, it's so beautiful. I think we shy away from the word need. I don't know that it's a bad word in the context of a conscious relationship. I think that
we need other people.
We do. We need to co-regulate. We need to learn how to self-regulate, and then we get to learn how to co-regulate in partnership. And
co-regulation comes first.
Yeah, co-regulation does come first.
Because when I realized that I didn't mean to cut you off. I realized that, like, when I learned how to like, one of our first experiences together was sitting on the bed at your place, and we were having a hard conversation, our first hard conversation, and she could feel me shutting down. Like, my guard was coming up, my heart was closing. I'm like, fuck you, fuck this conversation, not doing it. And she was able to completely disarm me in a beautiful way and ask me a few questions, and then suddenly I'm like answering these questions. I'm back open. I feel safe. I'm here.
And we named
some
like,
things.
There's shame.
And we named it, and she just did this beautiful job at just doing it naturally. And what happened is I just co-regulated with her. And through co-regulating with her, it gave me the space and the permission to better self-regulate. I didn't feel like I had to hide things from her. If we spend all the time hiding, like, self-regulating is hard. Right? Because we're not trying to show that something is fractured to begin with.
Yeah. And in the context of that conversation, if I had taken it personally, or if I had perceived his shame as a threat to me, then most likely I wouldn't have been able to hold that space, right? So there is an element of coming into relationship as a whole person, as someone who's done the work, as someone who can consciously say, let me hold this space for you. But I think that, we're only a year and a half into marriage, so we're newlyweds still, but I think that in marriage, I'm learning how beautiful it is to need Caleb, how beautiful it is that my essence becomes better around him, that he also can hold a really safe space for all parts of me. And I've done enough work to love myself and to be gentle with myself. But here's this other person who holds even wider space for all that I am, who holds space for all my ugly and all my gross and all of my stuff. And it's just really powerful to witness that in partnership is so expansive. It's so expansive for both of us individually and as a partnership to really do that together. So I kind of like the word need. I'm like, I need you. You're my partner. I need you.
Just when it's the awareness behind the need. It's the consciousness around the need.
Yeah. I love it. And I look forward to the day that you're saying to your little daughter, oh my God, I love you more. Because I'm telling my son that, he's like, well, did you not love me before? And I'm like, I did, but now I love you more. And it's just this
Growing.
figure eight where everybody grows. So, I'm so happy for you. So happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Logistically first, and then our closing thoughts. By KaraElise.com. Kara with a K. It's all going to be in the show notes to connect. The podcast, you can, what's the podcast called, Kara? What is the
Revolutionary Relationships. Ours.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
Ours is called Revolutionary Relationships.
So Revolutionary Relationships, and all the information is at both of their sites. It'll be in the show notes, so you can follow up with them, and just bask in your glory. I'm inspired by each of you individually, and together, I'm just like, I don't know. It's good. It's been good for me. Thank you. In closing, to our viewers and our listeners, from your beautiful hearts, how would you like to complete this conversation? And thank you again so much.
How do you want to complete this conversation?
Sin wine.
Goblets. I took notes. Yeah, goblets.
Goblets of wine.
No, I think for me, I don't know, like, I don't think we hear it enough from other people, and we certainly don't hear it enough from ourselves, but like, you're doing a good job. Like, hating yourself and being angry at yourself and being mad at yourself when you continue to wake up and the life you have is not the life that you want, and despite all of the work that you're doing to move beyond this place, and you're still not there, and the frustration and the despair and the anger that inevitably surfaces as a result of it, like, being hard on yourself is not going to get you to where you want to be. And so I just want to encourage you, and I would say from the bottom of my heart, like, you're doing a good job. And I just hope, I really do hope that you're just being gentle with yourself. You're showing yourself some compassion. It's in that compassion that we actually free up some energy and the space that we need to see our lives from a new perspective, from a new approach. And we can begin to maybe approach the way we're doing life a different way, which is inevitably going to lead us into what we deeply desire in our life. The universe is good. God is for you. This universe is for you. It's infinitely for you. It's for you more than you are for yourself, right? And it's just remembering that and honoring that and holding that as close as we can as we do our best in this world.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That was a mic drop right there. That was so good.
You're so good.
I think really simply, and kind of a piggybacking, is be gentle with yourself. Be really gentle. I think even as I'm imagining becoming a mom, I'm like this miraculous being, this like tender little perfect whole being. And if we could see ourselves as these tender little perfect whole beings that just need to be abundantly loved and cared for and nurtured, we'd be so much gentler with ourselves. And so, yeah, extend some motherly, compassionate, gentle energy towards yourself.
Beautiful. Just what we talk about here at Intimate Conversations, this intimate relationship with ourselves, seeing ourselves with the eyes of the divine to the best of our ability, seeing through the eyes of pure consciousness to your wobbly parts, and be gentle and kind and compassionate, and then have that be how you treat each other and treat strangers and treat your precious baby. It's a practice. It's It's possible. And I believe it's this core intimate relationship with ourselves from which all flourishes. And that it's mucky, as you said earlier, the downward descent into the lotus flower and mud is what blossoms this incredible flower, right? So be willing to be gentle with the tough parts to be gentle with. Oh, well, I'll have to get your address and send you a goblet. And whenever I'm in Nashville, I will let you know. I'm just so happy for you. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays. I love you, and I look forward to continuing to feature you and support you in any way I can. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And then viewers, what I'd like you to do, I'm sure there was many mic drops and nuggets in this conversation. So take a moment right now to reflect, get out your journal, and write down the one thing that really spoke to you, and then take an action. Because this conversation can literally change the trajectory of your life forever. All it takes is 1 degree, and the ship literally ends up someplace else in your life. So allow their beautiful, makes me want to cry, their beautiful wisdom and their example of being a conscious relationship to help you believe in what's possible. Take that action and connect with both of them. And that way their love indeed has inspired your life to be more. So we love you all. Mwah. Until next time on Intimate Conversations, I love you.